The unscrupulous system fell from the sky, and poor Han Feng was forced to traverse. That's all. Who would have thought that after the raw rice was cooked, the system elf suddenly told Han Feng that he had found the wrong person and uninstalled it directly. Han Feng. Starting with chaos and ending with abandonment. Forgetting kindness and betrayal. Thinking of changes in one's mind. Hating the old and liking the new. System elf. What nonsense. Here's the golden finger. Here you are. Book Friend Group. 103-430-6262 keywords of the novel. Soul Power of Douluo is upgraded by 2 levels every year without a pop-up window. Soul Power of Douluo is upgraded by 2 levels every year. Download the complete text. Soul Power of Douluo is upgraded by 2 levels every year. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. System installation failure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 System installation failure PS Book Friend Group. 103-430-6262 Wow, wow. Oh my goodness, Han Feng really didn't think about traveling. Compared to most parallel worlds, with air conditioning, computers, and mobile phones, what's not good about a harmonious and stable 21st century? But who would have thought that he could just eat spicy hot pot at home? Good guy, he just lowered his head and glanced at his phone. The bright lump knocked him unconscious. When he opened his eyes again, he had already turned into a newborn baby. Apart from crying loudly, it was even difficult for him to stand up. Let me take a look at the child. At this moment, a gentle female voice rang out. By the sound, the owner of the voice should also be considered a goddess level. However, for Han Feng, besides the sound, he couldn't understand a single word and chattered a lot. He didn't know what it meant, which instantly made Han Feng's heart half cold. Not speaking Chinese, not even the language of our planet, means that we have come to a different world. The histories we barely remember in our past lives are completely useless. Of course, if the language spoken by this voice is a strange and small language, that is another matter. Wife, he's a boy who looks really like you. He's so cute. Then, a voice rang out, this time a male voice, with a hint of worry and joy in it. Han Feng could easily guess that these 2 voices were probably his parents in this lifetime. Hey. It seems like I'm not the protagonist. Han Feng reluctantly opened his eyes. As he expected, the man in front of him was not too handsome, but rather had thick eyebrows and big eyes, with a hint of kindness between his eyebrows. Han Feng felt an inexplicable sense of closeness in his heart. Really? Let me take a look. Before Han Feng could even take a closer look at his father in this lifetime, the female voice rang out again, weak and filled with surprise. Upon hearing this, Han Feng was naturally obedient and handed him over directly. The woman cautiously took over Han Feng, with a pale face full of irresistible indulgence. She smiled happily and leaned her face towards Han Feng, affectionately rubbing against him. Han Feng was a bit surprised at this moment. Although he had already guessed something, he couldn't help but be amazed when he saw his mother in this life. If his mother had been in his past life, it would have been a flower. It still needs to be top-notch. Madam. You just gave birth and now your body is weak. Let me treat you first. Yeah. Wife. Aunt Lin is right, let Aunt Lin treat you first. Perhaps the gesture of getting up was too big, involving the wound. Han's mother frowned, which made the midwife and Han's father standing on the side nervous and quickly advised. Upon hearing this, Han's mother felt a bit unhappy and gave Han's father a bad look, which made his body and bones feel limp. Han's mother reluctantly kissed Han Feng and said softly, "Little baby, Mom will be with you later." Subsequently, Han's mother angrily handed Han Feng back to her father and smiled at her midwife, saying, "Thank you, Aunt Lin." The midwife chuckled and said, "No trouble. No trouble. Han Feng looked at all of this. Of course, there was nothing to say, and he couldn't understand what was going on. However, after feeling the warm embrace of his mother, he returned to his father's strong hand, which made Han Feng somewhat disgusted with his father. His big chest muscles were like 2 bricks, and he didn't know how they were trained. Perhaps sensing Han Feng's disgust, Han's father glared at him and cursed with a smile, "Little rabbit, you've always known how to love new things and hate old things since birth. I don't know how many little girls will be harmed when I grow up." Han Feng had stopped crying and didn't listen to what his father said at all. After all, he couldn't understand it and probably didn't say anything good. He just looked at his mother. But it doesn't matter if you don't look at it, it startles you. I only saw a small white flower emerging behind the midwife, with 2 large circles, one white and one yellow, guarding the flower from left to right. As the midwife let out a series of chirps, the yellow circle lit up with a loud ding sound, and a dense light enveloped my mother. As time passed, my mother's face recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Isn't Jia a soul ring? Douluo continent. A few days ago, Han Feng was still watching the anime version. Han Feng sighed for a moment. Isn't it too cold? Do you have Tang San's own business? If it were another world, it wouldn't be a problem. Look at the neighboring Dupo. If it were that world, you could steal some opportunities and use strange fire techniques. As long as your qualifications are not too poor, you can still take off. But what about Douluo? Take a closer look at Tang San's rise. What opportunities do Tang San have? The martial arts from previous lives, including Immortal Grass, Haotian Hammer, and Blue Silver Emperor, as well as the realm of killing gods and the inheritance of sea gods. Let's not talk about Haotian Hammer and Blue Silver Emperor. They are naturally born and cannot be snatched by oneself. Fairy Grass is even more useless. Let's not talk about whether one can enter the ice and fire Lianyi eyes. Even if one reaches the ground, has he ever done anything like Dugubo? I don't understand poison, I can't cure Dugubo's illness. The realm of killing gods and the inheritance of sea gods are far apart, and I am still a little bean sprout now. But there may still be hope for Xiantian Gong or something like that. If it's Do Er Do San, as long as you join the Tang sect, it seems like you can cultivate it. Hi. I've gone too far. I haven't even awakened my martial soul yet, and whether I have soul power is a question. What are you thinking about? Thinking of this, Han Feng's heart calmed down a lot. Douluo is Douluo Bai, everyone has come, can you still wear it back and scatter it? Let's wait until the 6-year-old martial soul awakens before we talk. The baby's energy was already limited. After thinking so much, Han Feng was also tired. He slowly closed his eyes and prepared to take a nap. Ding! The unlimited upgrade system has been bound. May I ask if the host has installed it? Before Han Feng could fall asleep, a heavenly sound woke him up, leaving him completely drowsy. How could time travel be without golden fingers? Han Feng was not ambiguous. God knew what would happen if he didn't answer, so he immediately shouted in his heart, "Install." Infinite upgrade system is being installed. 1%. 2%. Han Feng's uncontrollable ecstasy in his heart, infinite upgrade, listen to this name, what chance do you still have? What more fairy grass do you need? What more gods do you need? With just these 4 words, Han Feng had already seen the scene of boxing and kicking at the age of 6. 90%. 91%. 92%. You're not the host. Just as the installation bar of the system had already been loaded for the most part, Han Feng suddenly heard a hesitant and alert sound in his heart. With this sound, the loading bar, which symbolized a better future for Han Feng, suddenly stopped and remained motionless. I'm transparent. Han Fengren is so foolish, can they still play like this? The next moment, Han Feng saw a young girl appear in front of him, staring at him seriously, with various complex expressions of panic, astonishment, and embarrassment in his eyes. Finally, he said with a righteous tone, "You are not my host. The installation of the unlimited upgrade system has failed. There will be no future." After speaking, the young girl forcefully pushed back the progress bar that had already been loaded halfway, then packed it and left without looking back. Han Feng was stunned for a moment. If it weren't for him being a baby now, he would have cursed away long ago. In fact, Han Feng's heart had already skipped a beat. This can be considered strange. Han Feng has seen so many predecessors who have traveled through time, and it's really the first time he has heard of a system installation failure. I don't know what to say. I am an author driven by interest equals, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Soul Power Upgrades 2 levels per year. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Soul Power Upgrades 2 levels per year. I'm transparent. Installation failed. The system can still fail to install. I knocked on a bottle of Lu Wei Di Huang Wan. You told me you broke up. I won't agree. Isn't there a breakup canon in breakups? Han Feng cursed loudly in his heart, which was manifested externally as crying loudly. Han Feng suddenly started making a fuss, which made his father and mother nervous. However, Han Feng didn't have time to worry about these things now. He could be certain that the system elf in front of him, which only he could see, could definitely hear his own voice. He must let this cute and lovely little elf give him an explanation. As expected by Han Feng, the little elf did indeed hear Han Feng's inner voice. Her small face turned red with an indescribable blush, but she deeply understood that she must not show any timidity at this moment. What if I mistakenly find the wrong host? What if he brought Han Feng to Douluo continent himself? They won't be responsible. Old scumbag girl. Ah no, the old system is broken. Humph. You're not their host, so of course installation will fail. Although I'm sorry for bringing you into this world, I know you're a good person. Don't worry, they will remember you. Han Feng was stunned. Did I actually get scumbagged by a system? This is really encountering a rare object. However, Han Feng quickly realized that it was related to his future happy life. Even if he was an idiot, his IQ would soar. Han Feng quickly grasped the key point and exclaimed in surprise, "It was you who brought me into this world. You are that bright and dazzling one." What do you mean by a dazzling lump? It's the power of time and space, very precious. Even if it's me, I won't be able to get a second one in a short period of time. Do you know that because of you, my host will reincarnate for several lifetimes again? The little elf blushed slightly and exclaimed in embarrassment. Han Feng doesn't care about so much. At this moment, his intelligence is probably second only to Einstein. What do you mean? I can't go back. The originally domineering little elf, upon hearing Han Feng's words, immediately wilted and smirked twice, saying, "Hee hee. Didn't he mean to? You're so kind, you'll definitely forgive him, right? He's young and immature." Hiss. Han Feng took a cold breath. This is really amazing. Okay. I can see it now. Are you playing with me? I'm doing well at home, and without saying a word, you took me to this unfamiliar place. Now you're telling me, I'm not your host. You found the wrong person and are about to leave. Are you treating me like a monkey? Otherwise, you'll have to suffer again and give me a better understanding. We won't suffer this injustice anymore. Han Feng cursed with indignation. It's like drinking at a bar and suddenly a beautiful woman comes up to talk to me. I didn't want to, but the other person drugged me and dragged me back home. By the time I woke up, I had already been filled with a bottle of night medicine. Just as I was thinking I couldn't afford to lose, the other person suddenly tied me up and threw me out of the door. It's not something that people do. The little elf felt a bit embarrassed upon hearing this. She probably felt that she had done something unkind, but she couldn't help it either. After all, every drink and peck had its own fate, and her host was not Han Feng. She really bound Han Feng, which was not a good thing for her or Han Feng. So it is impossible to make do with it. But thinking about this, it's ultimately my own fault. It's really unreasonable to take Han Feng to Douluo continent and let go. Okay. I'm afraid of you. Finally, under the struggle of his conscience, the little elf's face collapsed and angrily glared at Han Feng, producing a stream of light. The stream transformed into a training ball and penetrated into Han Feng's eyebrows. Han Feng felt a shock all over his body, as if there was something extra in his body, but he didn't understand what it was. It's cheaper for you. The little elf let out a proud and coquettish snort before explaining, this training can increase your soul power by 2 levels every year. Don't worry, this is their own skill, and it has nothing to do with the system. It can be considered as compensation for you. Han Feng was taken aback for a moment, feeling a bit strange in his heart. Listening to the little elf's words, Han Feng quickly pondered the taste. Indeed, he still had golden fingers. However, compared to others, this golden finger is not as strong as I imagined. Soul power increases by 2 levels every year, and this ability can be quite high or low. Let's say it's not strong. As long as you don't die, you will definitely be able to become a title Douluo at the age of 45. It's not impossible to reach the title Douluo level before the age of 40. You know, before the main character group, the youngest Haotian Douluo on the road was also a title Douluo achieved at the age of 44. But is he strong? That's it. Have you not seen Tang San and the others, all of whom are in their 20s and are titled Douluo? If I don't practice at all, I'm in my 20s. If I go to heaven, I'm probably just a soul king or soul emperor, right? I just don't know if this ability can be effective all the time. If it's still effective after I become a title Douluo, wouldn't it be like I can break through the level 100 barrier at the age of 50? Thinking of this, Han Feng laughed foolishly again. The little elf gave Han Feng a disdainful glance and gritted his teeth, saying, "All right. We're also clear now. We'll see each other in the future." At this moment, Han Feng, who had gained benefits, didn't mind the attitude of the little elves at all. In the end, he had no room for resistance in front of the little elves. If the little elves were really determined to scum him, he would have no choice but to leave some soup and water. Han Feng was already very satisfied. Goodbye. I, Han Feng, will never forget your great lack of virtue in this lifetime. You. Humph. They don't have the same view as you. The little elf glared at Han Feng with hatred, but in the end, she didn't do anything to him. She turned around and left without looking back. She had just taken Han Feng through time and space, and the energy consumption was too high, and there was no energy supplement from the host. Now, she must hurry back. As for where to go, only the elves themselves know, perhaps it's a place similar to the M78 Nebula. Although he couldn't understand what his mother was saying, when he saw this scene, Han Feng didn't know what had happened. He mistook his crying just now for hunger. However, speaking of it, I am indeed a bit hungry. So, under the fierce gaze of his father, Han Feng had his first meal in the world. Wait for me, little bunny. Wait for you to grow for another 2 years. He's a ruthless person who even eats his own son's jealousy. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Awakening of Martial Souls, Shield of the Blazing Sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Awakening of Martial Souls, Shield of the Blazing Sky. Mom, save me. Dad's going to hit me again. Little bunny, don't complain about it. When will I hit you? It has been 6 years since Han Feng arrived in Douluo continent. It took him a year to learn the language of the mainland. However, unlike Tang San, Han Feng's childhood was much more comfortable. He had a loving mother and a responsible father, and every 2 days he could even eat soul beast meat to satisfy his craving. On the mainland, this was already the top standard of living. Compared to Tang San's parents who had a great background, Han Feng's parents appeared much more ordinary. Father Han Dang, 33 years old this year, has a level 45 defense of the War Soul Sect, a martial soul Xuanjia shield, and a soul ring of 1 white, 1 yellow, and 2 purple. Mother Zhang Lingling, 30 years old this year, level 38 auxiliary soul master, martial soul red inflammation, soul ring 2 yellow and 1 purple. Han Dang works at the big battle soul field in the city, and the treatment at the soul sect level is still very good, enough for their family of 3 to live a prosperous life. And today is the day when Han Feng's martial soul awakens. Even if Han Feng has traveled through time, he cannot help but be excited. Han Feng has no doubt about his soul power at all. The bottom line is that he is at level 12. After all, the golden finger is here. He has been promoted to 2 levels a year, and 6 years have passed. Even if he was born without soul power, he must be at level 12 now. What can make Han Feng so excited is naturally his martial soul. To be honest, Han Feng doesn't really want to inherit Han Dang's martial soul. After all, strong attacks are the romance of men. If he inherits the Xuanjia shield, he will have to go down the path of a defensive soul master. Han Feng hopes to inherit his mother's red flame martial soul. Although Zhang Lingling is an auxiliary soul master, it was because there was a mistake when choosing a soul ring, and she had no choice but to become an auxiliary soul master. After all, she is a flame. As long as her mind does not slide, it is still easy to become a strong attack soul master. With a longing for the red flame martial soul, Han Feng, this unlucky child, had been pestering Han Dang with questions early in the morning, and his words did not conceal his disdain for the Xuanjia shield martial soul. And Han Dang didn't get used to him either. He told him straightforwardly that the Han family has been a Xuanjia shield martial soul for generations, with a single lineage passed down from male to female. Han Feng's careful thinking was considered a failure. But in the spirit of my unhappiness and your desire to die together, Han Feng left Han Dang and ran to Zhang Lingling to accuse him of wrongdoing. This is not the first time, it is skillfully heartbreaking for Han Dang. As expected, when she heard that Han Dang was about to hit her precious son again, Zhang Lingling looked directly at Han Dang. With just one glance, Han Dang, who was still waving his teeth and claws, quieted down like a obedient kitten. At this moment, Han Feng, who was hiding behind Zhang Lingling, made a face at Han as if he were smiling, feeling proud and causing Han Dang's ears to ache. Although Han Feng came through time travel and his real age is much older than his appearance, he was only 20 years old in his past life, 6 years old in this life, and only 20.6 years old in total. He just graduated from kindergarten 20 years ago. However, this time Zhang Lingling did not twist Han Dang's ear, she just glared at Han Dang and didn't say anything, which disappointed Han Feng a bit. Zhang Lingling picked up Han Feng and fondly rubbed his small face. Han Feng and Xiaomu, apart from those big eyes that resemble Han Dang, both their nose and mouth are more like Zhang Lingling. This made Han Feng proud for a while, and he was also a handsome guy. However, this also made Zhang Lingling particularly fond of rubbing his face, and Han Feng was also very helpless. Fenger, no matter what kind of martial soul it is, it actually has its advantages. Mom believes that whether it's Dad's Xuanjia shield or Mom's crimson flame, Fenger can definitely leverage her strengths and avoid her weaknesses, and play to her strengths, right? Han Feng is early-witted, and Zhang Lingling is not afraid of Han Feng's childish temper, she said softly. Upon hearing this, Han Feng smiled faintly. It was obvious that Zhang Lingling had already seen through his own carelessness. That's right. What's wrong with Xuanjia shield? One person is in charge, 10,000 people cannot open it. Seeing that Zhang Lingling didn't mention herself, Han Dang's courage suddenly increased and he quickly scolded from the side, neither light nor heavy. Han Feng stuck out his tongue, lowered his head, and muttered softly, "Cut. You're still standing and getting beaten." Han Feng's voice was indeed very quiet, but Han Dang and Zhang Lingling were so close that they couldn't hear each other clearly. Han Dang wanted to reprimand him, but Zhang Lingling glared back and said, "What can I do for you?" Han Dang couldn't help but mutter a few times and dodge to the side. "Fenger, the people from the Martial Soul Hall have arrived. No matter what your martial soul is, you will soon know. What if our Fenger's martial soul mutates?" Zhang Lingling quickly coaxed when she saw her precious son unhappy. "Oh." Han Feng responded weakly. As a soul sect member, Han Dang has a soul-respectful wife who is fully qualified to invite people who awaken their martial souls from the Martial Soul Hall to their homes. After all, most soul masters who awaken their martial souls are in their 20s. Following Zhang Lingling, Han Feng quickly saw the person who was about to awaken his martial soul. "Dear Lord Soul Sect, hello. I am Wang Sun. It's my pleasure to serve you. Could you please?" In front of outsiders, Han Dang is still very majestic. As a soul sect, even if he does not release his soul power, it is enough to make Wang Sun, the great soul master, feel pressure. But when Han Feng heard Wang Sun's self-introduction, he was somewhat disappointed. Without the useless martial soul certification of Su Yuntao's single dog, he was indeed not the protagonist. After a brief conversation between Wang Sun and Han Dang, he came to Han Feng and smiled gently, saying, "Han Gongzi. Please don't resist later. I will pull out the power that is sleeping inside you." Wang Sun looked like he was in his 30s, with no signs of impatience on his face. Han Feng nodded and, under Zhang Lingling's encouraging gaze, said, "Thank you." Han Feng's politeness made Wang Sun's eyes sparkle. Without further ado, he directly released his martial soul and said, "Sand crocodile. Possession." 2 soul rings, one white and one yellow, rose from behind Wang Sun. Wang Sun's appearance changed at a speed visible to the naked eye. A row of jagged yellow armor plates grew on his spine, his hands became sharp claws, his limbs became thick, and a gust of wind and sand surrounded him. To Wang Sun's surprise, there was no expression of fear or panic in Han Feng's eyes. However, when Wang Sun thought about it, he didn't care anymore. After all, he was Han Dang's son, and he probably had seen many martial souls in the battle soul field. There must be many more ferocious ones than himself. "Han Gongzi. Please don't resist." Wang Sun finally reminded him. After Han Feng nodded, he extended his hand, which had already turned into a claw, and placed it on Han Feng's head. Han Feng only felt a warm force flowing through his body. When this force flowed through his dantian, a sudden mutation occurred. Xiong. A sudden burst of flames surged out of Han Feng's body, enveloping him. The scorching breath even made Wang Sun frown. Fortunately, this flame had no malicious intent, otherwise his palms would probably be a bit ripe. Han Feng felt this flame and was immediately overjoyed. He only felt that this flame was very warm and friendly, obviously his martial soul. Zhang Lingling and Han Dang, who had been watching from the side, both widened their eyes. "Is my son really the red flame martial soul?" Han Dang frowned and said, "It shouldn't be. The genes of the old Han family are very strong. It has been proven that the genes of the old Han family are indeed strong." Han Dang and his 3 companions soon discovered that in the flames, a shield was raised, and Han Feng naturally held it in his right hand. The feeling of blood connection made Han Feng know that this was his complete martial soul. With the eyes of Han Dang and his 3 companions, how could they not tell that the flames were surging out of the shield? Han Feng's martial soul was not so much a flame, but rather the shield that emitted the flames. Zhang Lingling was a bit unhappy and said, "Is it still a shield?" He. Wife. What's wrong with a shield? Our son will definitely be the strongest man in the future. Han Dang smiled and whispered to Zhang Lingling. Unexpectedly, Zhang Lingling didn't buy it and snorted coldly, "Are you still standing and getting beaten up? I can tell you, if my precious son gets injured in the future, I'll have my ears twisted off for you." Han Dang's face suddenly turned desolate. The young couple never even thought about whether Han Feng had soul power. Wang Sun didn't know the whispers of the young couple. After Han Feng's martial soul awakened, he put away the sand crocodile's martial soul and asked Han Feng, "Young Master Han, your martial soul seems to be a combination of Han's and his wife's martial souls. I don't know what your name is." Han Feng was stunned for a moment. He was about to say that he didn't know either, but when he spoke up, he inexplicably called out the name of his martial soul. "Shield of the Flame Sky. My martial soul's name is Shield of the Flame Sky. Is the Shield of the Blazing Sky really very vivid? Can it not be visually appealing?" This is what the Flame Sky Shield told Han Feng. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Innate 12, Twin Martial Souls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Innate 12, Twin Martial Souls, is the Shield of the Blazing Sky really mutated? My son is really amazing. Although Zhang Lingling is somewhat dissatisfied with Han Feng's martial soul or shield, she still won't be stingy with her praise for Han Feng. Not to mention a shield, even if Han Feng really awakens an abandoned martial soul, Zhang Lingling can give it to heaven. Moreover, at least in the martial soul of my precious son, there are still traces of my own crimson inflammation. Upon hearing these words, Han Dang sighed in his heart. Both of them are shields, and I am the one who has been beaten. My son is amazing, and this double standard is too serious, isn't it? By contrast, Wang Sun appeared calm and composed. It's not his own son, why is he meddling in it? To put it 10,000 steps back, Han Feng's martial soul couldn't be seen for any reason, he just thought it was good. Anyway, he must be more powerful than his own martial soul, but he didn't think that the Flame Sky Shield was any top martial soul, at most it was just good. And haven't you tested your innate soul power yet? Although it may seem that Han Feng's Blazing Sky Shield mutates towards the better side, there is always a contingency in everything. Mutated martial souls have always been judged by their innate soul power. A high innate soul power is good, while a low innate soul power is bad. What if Han Feng's Blazing Sky Shield is just a fake? When Han Feng was still stunned, Wang Sun had already taken out a crystal ball and handed it to him. He said in a slow voice, "Han Gongzi, the next step is to test the innate soul power. You just need to import the power of your martial soul into this crystal ball." Han Feng finally regained his senses and nodded in amazement, placing his hand on the crystal ball. The power of his martial soul naturally flowed out and penetrated into the crystal ball. Buzz! In an instant, the crystal ball lit up like a light bulb. Even though Han Feng was already prepared, he was still dazzled by the light. Oh my goodness! It's actually innate full soul power. Wang Sun was the first to react and exclaimed in surprise. He lifted the crystal ball in Han Feng's hand like a treasure and looked into Han Feng's eyes, full of brilliance. Wang Sun couldn't imagine what reward the martial soul hall would give him if he brought the child in front of him back. Not weak martial soul combined with innate full soul power, this is simply a living treasure standing in front of oneself. In fact, Wang Sun didn't know that Han Feng was not born with full soul power, but with innate level 12. However, Wang Sun only knew that a crystal ball that was all bright was innate full soul power. At present, the light of the crystal ball was 3 points brighter than that of innate full soul power. But Wang Sun had not even seen innate full soul power, how could he recognize it? "Child, are you willing to enter my martial soul hall?" As soon as Wang Sun thought of the reward that the martial soul hall would give him, his heart was filled with passion. He grabbed Han Feng's hand and excitedly smelled it. Cough. Before Han Feng could answer him, he heard Han Dang cough twice. His big eyes looked at Wang Sun with a faint expression, but he remained silent. Wang Sun was suddenly shocked. How could he forget that the child in front of him is not a little doll without a background in a mountain village? His father is a soul sect, and how could a small soul master arrange it? I crossed over. I'm leaving now. Wang Sun panicked and bowed to Han Dang before leaving. Slow down, no delivery. Han Dang nodded and went straight to see off the guest, his tone much harder than before. Wang Sun, however, was granted amnesty and quickly ran out of the Han family. Humph, something unknowable. Seeing Wang Sun leave, Zhang Lingling's face also turned cold. She snorted coldly and cursed. Indeed, if Han Feng were to enter the martial soul hall, with his innate talent of full soul power, he would definitely receive better treatment and a broader future. But for a mother who loves her son so much, how could Zhang Lingling be willing to let her precious son just wake up and enter the martial soul hall away from her? And entering the martial soul hall means fighting, and fighting means fighting. From Han Feng's martial soul perspective, isn't fighting just being beaten? Zhang Lingling won't let Han Feng enter the martial soul hall. Han Dang on the side didn't know what his wife meant. In fact, in his opinion, entering the martial soul hall was indeed a good place to go, but Zhang Lingling definitely didn't agree with that. I also feel a bit reluctant to part with this unlucky child. Dad. Mom. My martial soul has awakened. It's a fusion of Qi Yan and Xuanjia shield. At this moment, Han Feng ran to his parents with a smile and said pleasantly. Upon hearing this, Han Dang also smiled. With his mutated powerful martial soul and innate full soul power, Han Dang was also knowledgeable. He knew in his heart that if his son worked hard enough, the future could be promising. Even being titled Douluo was not a dream. However, Zhang Lingling felt a bit disappointed and said, "It's a pity that your father's shield is the main body." Han Feng smiled nonchalantly and said, "What's going on here? Isn't that what you said, Mom? Both Xuanjia shield and Qi Yan have their own strengths. Now that I have gathered the strengths of both families, what else is there to be dissatisfied with?" Han Feng's words surprised Han Dang a bit. "Oh. You finally understand. I'll just say it. What's wrong with defensive soul masters? You can definitely become the strongest man on the mainland in the future." Hee hee. Han Feng just smiled foolishly upon hearing this. He didn't understand, he just realized that he had more than one martial soul. When the martial soul awakened, in addition to the blazing heat on his right hand, Han Feng also noticed the coldness on his left hand. If it weren't for his quick reaction, it would probably not have been as simple as a flame when the martial soul awakened just now, but a dual heaven of ice and fire. Through perception, Han Feng knew that his second martial soul was Zhenbing, stronger than ordinary Xianbing and Jingbing, but weaker than ultimate ice, probably at the same level as his blazing sky shield. More importantly, Han Feng found that his twin martial souls did not have the same taboos as Tang San, so he could not use either one. The flame sky shield and Zhenbing could be used simultaneously. With this second martial soul, I am still struggling with what kind of shield I don't have. It really drives me crazy. I just took out the second martial soul and added a warrior to the flesh tank. While truly achieving a batch of flesh, the damage is also high. Thinking of this, Han Feng shrank his left hand. This martial soul needs to be hidden well. It's a trump card, the real trump card. Han Feng did not intend to tell Han Dang and Zhang Lingling about the existence of the Zhenbing martial soul. It was not that he did not believe them, but rather that Han Dang loved to show off too much. Today, he told Han Dang, and the next day, everyone in the soul fighting field might know that he had two martial souls. And also, this dragon gives birth to dragons, phoenixes give birth to phoenixes, and the son of a mouse knows how to make holes. According to Han Feng's understanding, whether it is his maternal or paternal lineage, for 3 generations, he has not explained the martial soul related to ice. It is difficult to explain the origin of his Zhenbing martial soul. Although there is a saying about the variation of martial souls, where a cat and a tiger gave birth to a lion, this can be explained by the variation of martial souls. However, if a cat and a tiger gave birth to a hammer, this is obviously not very reasonable, is it? Although judging from his first martial soul, he was certain that Han Dang and Zhang Lingling's biological son had not escaped. In order to maintain family harmony, Han Feng decided not to tell Han Dang and Zhang Lingling. After all, in Han Feng's opinion, his father does indeed love his mother very much, but at the same time, he also carries a bit of possessiveness. A ruthless person who even eats jealousy from his own son. Can you guarantee that he won't feel a little uneasy in his heart? Han Feng had a roommate in his past life, and even his girlfriend's phone couldn't have the contact information of men outside of her family. Han Feng is really afraid that his father is this kind of person. Let's observe and observe again. After all, love is all selfish. If there really is someone who selflessly dedicates himself, Han Feng doesn't mind seeing and experiencing the divine dog of the licking world, the roaring licking dog, and it would be best if he could also communicate and exchange ideas with his inner circle. P.S. I don't mind either. My home is located in China, and my contact information is 159. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Soul Hunting Forest, 400-year-old bull head lava turtle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Soul Hunting Forest, 400-year-old bull head lava turtle. Since the awakening of Han Feng's martial soul, Zhang Lingling's indulgence in him has not decreased but increased. It seems that Han Feng, who understands the future, will inevitably become a powerful soul master and cannot accompany her every day like now. She has concentrated her indulgence for the next decade into just a few days. This has infuriated Han Dang to the point of not severing his father-son relationship with Han Feng. However, Han Dang was not powerless against Han Feng. In order to support him, he decisively sent him to the Junior Soul Master Academy in the city. As a genius with innate soul power, how could he not study? My actions are reasonable and not for the sake of living a world of two with my wife. Although I am a soul sect member, I am usually so busy that I don't have time to teach my children. Although my wife is a soul master, she is still an auxiliary soul master, and her profession is not appropriate. However, the students will not start school until 2 months later, so Han Dang can only endure for another 2 months. Han Feng has mentioned the idea of going to Notting City College. After all, he has inquired about it in the past 6 years. The current pope of the Martial Soul Hall is Bibidong, and Haotian Douluo disappeared 6 years ago. He should be the same age as Tang San. Notting College has cute little dances, invincible theoretical masters, and the future sea god Tang San. Can you do it without stuttering? If his thighs can match the thickness of Tang San's arms, he wouldn't lick his face to hug Tang San's thighs. Xianchao and Haitian assessments. Which one can live without Tang San? However, before Han Feng could bring up his immature idea, it had already been rejected by Zhang Lingling. Han Feng's family lives in Stan City, not to mention 108,000 miles away from Notting City, but they don't just want to go there. Zhang Lingling couldn't even let Han Feng go to the Martial Soul Hall. How could she let Han Feng go to Notting College so far? It's better to see the college in the city sooner or later. Isn't it only 6 months since I went to Notting College? My arms couldn't twist my thighs, and Zhang Lingling was the largest thigh in the family. Han Feng had no choice but to give up. Of course, as someone with innate soul power, it is natural to hunt for soul rings. Taking advantage of the 2 months since the start of the college, Han Dang and Zhang Lingling brought Han Feng to the soul hunting forest, preparing to hunt for the first soul ring for Han Feng. Although Han Dang is a defense-type soul master, and Zhang Lingling is an auxiliary-type soul master, her combat abilities are not outstanding, at least she still exists at the level of Soul Master of the Soul Sect. Even without using Soul Ring skills and relying solely on soul power to crush a small soul beast that has been around for 400 to 500 years, she can easily defeat it. And it wasn't until Han Feng arrived at the soul hunting forest that he realized that those comrades he had seen in his past life, such as the protagonist who met and instantly killed a century-old soul beast, were all fake. Have you not seen someone like Tang San who cheats and almost uses all means to attack the mandala snake that was just killed by relying on his weaknesses? If it were an ordinary person like Han Feng, who has no martial arts skills or hidden weapons, use his head to fight soul beasts. Moreover, in his past life, Han Feng was neither a killer nor a special forces soldier. During the toughest times, he participated in university military training, and his psychological quality was only above average. Those soul beasts were more ferocious and ugly than each other. Not to mention that Han Feng didn't have much ability, even if he did, he couldn't show it in front of them. Han Feng did indeed see many soul masters with fierce martial souls, but they were soul masters, completely different from soul beasts emitting a bloody aura all over their bodies. Han Feng doesn't believe it. In his past life, if a normal person were locked in the same cage as a tiger, he wouldn't be afraid. Han Feng was 20 years old in his past life. When he returned to the village, he felt a little scared when he saw the big goose in the village. It was his childhood enemy. Helpless, Han Feng could only obediently hide behind Zhang Lingling and Han Dang, trying not to cause trouble for his parents. In fact, in the eyes of Han Dang and Zhang Lingling, this is already a manifestation of intelligence. After all, when most children are 6 years old and see ferocious soul beasts, how can they not cry or make noise? Dad, Dad. What soul beast should I find as my first soul ring? Han Feng closely followed Zhang Lingling and asked Han Dang with his head stuck out. Han Dang naturally wouldn't miss the opportunity to show off in front of his wife and children. He nodded and replied, Fenger's martial soul is the shield of the blazing sky. Although she has the power of crimson inflammation, her body is still a shield. In the future, she will definitely take the path of a defensive soul master. Since she is a defensive soul master, she is naturally the most suitable turtle soul beast. Zhang Lingling, on the other hand, holds a different opinion. Why must I be a turtle-like soul beast? Is it because my red inflammation is not strong enough? Faced with his wife's questioning, Han Dang naturally dared not speak out and was even less likely to reason with his wife, just chatting and smiling. Han Feng furrowed his eyebrows and asked in confusion, can't we find a fire-type turtle? The speaker had no intention, but the listener had an intention. When Han Feng was so surprised, Han Dang seemed to suddenly remember something and smiled, you kid is a bit quick-witted. Han Feng was puzzled and could only turn his confused gaze to Han Dang. Han Dang grinned and didn't hide anything, explaining, it's also your kid's chance. A few years ago, when I was obtaining the 4th soul ring, I met a bull-headed lava turtle with over 200 years of cultivation. In recent years, I have also had 300 to 400 years of cultivation, which happens to be your kid's first soul ring. When Han Feng heard about his 200-year cultivation, he felt a bit disappointed. After all, he knew that the limit of the first soul ring of a soul master was 423 years, which was twice as long. But when Han Dang said 300 to 400 years, Han Feng smiled and was very satisfied in his heart. It's impossible to get older over time. We're not the sons of any gods, and our martial souls are not the ultimate fire or ice. There's no soul beast sacrificing for millions of years. So, challenge yourself to get older. Looking at Tang San, Han Feng has been reborn for a lifetime. Compared to his peers, his spiritual power is already considered strong. However, Tang San has been cultivating purple extreme magic eyes since childhood, and his spiritual power is much stronger than Han Feng's. Coupled with the warm cultivation of Shen Tian Gong, his body and bones are only stronger than Han Feng's. Tang San's absorption of a mandala snake that has been around for 400 years is so difficult that he can only do such irresponsible things to his life after drinking too much. To take a step back, Zhang Lingling is still watching from the side. When Han Dang said that the bullhead lava turtle had 300 to 400 years of cultivation, Zhang Lingling was a bit worried. If Han Feng dared to say he wanted to absorb 500 to 600 years, Zhang Lingling dared to make Han Dang kneel down and admit her mistake. It is not without reason that a loving mother often defeats her children. The strongest soul beast in the soul-hunting forest outside Stan City is only 2,000 or 3,000 years old. With a soul sect and an auxiliary soul master, Han Dang could easily walk horizontally. Soon, he took Han Feng and Zhang Lingling to find the bull-head lava turtle. Most turtle soul beasts are exhausted and lazy, and it is common for them to stay in the same territory for 3 to 5 years. This is also why Han Feng and his companions were able to find it so smoothly. Seeing the cow-headed lava turtle in front of him, Han Dang's eyes lit up and he said to Han Feng, "Fenger. This soul beast has over 400 years of cultivation, and its defense attribute is also considered superior among similar soul beasts. What's even more precious is that its flame is not weaker than that of fire-type soul beasts of the same level. It should be your chance." The bullhead lava turtle beast, as its name suggests, has the appearance of a turtle in both its limbs and shell. However, it has grown a fierce bull head. Not so much like a head, but more like a bone mask wrapped around its head. The fiery red lines adhere to the forest white bull head, and flames burn in its pupils, making it incredibly captivating. It is hiding in the cave, with its eyes open, but it seems to be sleeping. If it were to launch an attack at this moment, it wouldn't be impossible to defeat the enemy with just one strike. Han Feng looked at the bull-head lava turtle, his eyes full of light. Suppressing his excitement, he said to Han Dang Dao, "I've decided it's it. Dad." Upon hearing this, a satisfied expression flashed in Han Dang's big eyes. He had just been waiting for Han Feng's decision. After all, his 400-year cultivation had already approached the limit of the first soul ring of a soul master. If Han Feng was timid, Han Dang wouldn't say anything, but it was obvious that Han Feng's performance had made him very satisfied. "Okay." As the word fell, Han Dang had already disappeared into place. Soul masters at the soul sect level, even if they were not from the quick attack genre, their speed was not something Han Feng could understand. Han Dang did not use soul skills, and even did not summon his martial soul. He just jumped up in a simple and rough manner and punched the bull-head lava turtle. Joke, such an excellent opportunity, Han Dang may not let his wife and children see his heroic appearance. Especially Han Feng, he wants to let him know that the power of defensive soul masters is also very strong. That's what his father, Han Feng, and grandfather did back then. Roar. But the next moment, the bullhead lava turtle suddenly moved and let out a roar. Its voice was not like that of a turtle or a cow, but rather like a roaring lion and tiger. The cow-head lava turtle shell moved slightly, and 3 fiery red round shields spread out, lying horizontally in front of it. Han Dang's face was somewhat surprised and he said, "How dare you pretend to sleep? Your intelligence is not low." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The Palace of Destiny, Attached with Soul Bones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Palace of Destiny, Attached with Soul Bones. Turtle soul beasts generally have lower speeds. When they discover enemies, most of them can't escape. The same goes for the bull-head lava turtle. When it discovers Han Dang and his 3 companions, it knows that it can't avoid them anymore and can only pretend to sleep and deceive Han Dang. It has been proven that it succeeded, and Han Dang was indeed deceived by him. However, unfortunately, Han Dang's strength far exceeds its imagination. Even if Han Dang did not use martial souls and soul skills, it could not resist. Under the power of Han Dang's fist, the bull-head lava turtle can only choose passive defense. Boom. The defense of the bull-head lava turtle is indeed astonishing. Although Han Dang did not use soul skills and even did not exert all his strength in this punch, he is still a prominent soul sect. Under one punch, he was unable to penetrate the bull-head lava turtle's triple flame shield and stopped on the last flame shield. His old strength has been depleted. Han Dang's face looked a bit unsightly, feeling ashamed and embarrassed. Even with Han Dang's old face, it was a slight blush that could not be traced. Seeking death. Angry and embarrassed, Han Dang let out a roar and spun his body in the air. With the help of his soul power, he punched out again. This time, he did his best, and even the Soul Lord of the strong attack style couldn't win with this punch. Roar. What surprised the three of them was that this time, the bull-head lava turtle probably knew he couldn't stop it and didn't choose to defend. Instead, he let out a roar. The huge bullhead stood high, with a pair of horns condensing a starting point of dark red light dots. The light dots converged into a fist-sized light ball, emitting terrifying energy fluctuations. A family of three were all shocked, and no one expected that the bull-head lava turtle, as a turtle-like soul beast, would possess such powerful attack ability. If the master were here, he would be even more shocked. This 400-year-old soul beast actually carries two soul skills. Red Flame. Second soul skill. Possession Flame. Zhang Lingling's reaction was extremely fast, and the Red Flame martial soul appeared. The second yellow centenary soul ring lit up, and a bright flame shot towards Han Dang. In an instant, only a sound of xiong was heard, and Han Dang burned all over. However, Han Dang did not show any signs of pain. Instead, his momentum was even stronger, like a flame martial god. This is Zhang Lingling's second soul skill, which can increase the soul power and strength of soul masters possessed by red flames by 50%, and attach flame attack special effects. Xuanjia done. Roar. Han Dang's reaction was not slow either, and he directly summoned his martial soul. The pitch-black Xuanjia shield lay horizontally in front of Han Dang before the bull-head lava turtle took action. Boom! Under the roar of the bull-head lava turtle, the dark red light balls between the cow horns shot a laser, fiercely hitting the Xian armor shield. The burst energy was released, and the deafening roar made Han Feng's ears tingle, even Han Dang's face changed. The move of the bull-head lava turtle is already comparable to the full-force strike of the level 20 strong attack soul master. It's a turtle-like soul beast with amazing defense. If the bullhead lava turtle could still have decent speed, it would definitely be comparable to top soul beasts like the Titan ape. However, for Han Dang, that's all. The bullhead lava turtle did surprise him, but he is a soul sect and summoning a martial soul has already given him face. He even has no use for soul skills. If it weren't for Zhang Lingling's concern, it would be chaotic. Without possessed inflammation, relying solely on the Xian armor shield, Han Dang could still withstand this blow with ease. Scatter. Han Dang just handed the Xuanjia shield forward, and the dark red laser melted away like spring and snow. The Nyoto lava turtle was taken aback, unable to comprehend the scene in front of it with its simple intelligence, and for a moment did not know what to do. Han Dang didn't give it a chance either. In order to prevent it from causing any more trouble, he dodged and came to the side of the bullhead lava turtle, blessed by the possessed flame. At this time, Han Dang was no weaker than the same level of strong attack soul masters. With a simple punch, the bullhead lava turtle had already foamed at the mouth and fainted. At this point, the bullhead lava turtle had exhausted its soul power. Han Dang dragged it to Han Feng and proudly smiled at him, saying, "Go absorb the first soul ring." Han Feng looked at Zhang Lingling, then at Han Dang, nodded vigorously, took out the dagger from his arms, and walked towards the fainting bullhead lava turtle with excitement. The first soul ring. I don't know what my first soul ring will look like. Puff. Han Feng immediately stabbed the dagger into the forehead of the bullhead lava turtle, and a bright yellow soul ring slowly rose from inside the bull head lava turtle. Han Feng took a deep breath and summoned the blazing sky shield, allowing the soul ring to trap his martial soul. Hold your breath and concentrate. Han Dang quickly reminded him that he didn't dare to be careless. He quickly closed his eyes and his mind sank into his martial soul. In an instant, he felt a scorching heat flowing out of the flame shield, sweeping his whole body. Han Feng felt pain all over his body like a knife cutting fire roasting. However, he had already anticipated it and had to grit his teeth and resist with his soul power. Fortunately, Han Feng's soul power was at level 12, slightly stronger than ordinary people. After about half an hour, this feeling dissipated. Han Feng swore that this half hour was definitely the most steadfast half hour in his past and present 26 years of life. Roar! 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 But after the scorching heat dissipated, a fierce aura reappeared, and Han Feng heard a roar. For a moment, he felt his mind wavering and his heart was greatly shocked. Han Feng seemed to see cow-headed lava turtles roaring at him, and the beast-like aura made Han Feng gasp for breath. Fortunately, Han Feng's spiritual strength is still quite strong. In addition, he didn't have much fear of the bull-head lava turtle as he watched his father beat his son before. Therefore, although Han Feng didn't know what was going on, he persisted with his strong desire for survival. However, Zhang Lingling from the outside world looked worried and asked Han Dangji with a hint of blame, "It's been over half an hour now. Why hasn't Fenger woken up yet? I said not for 400 years. If anything happens to my Fenger, you can sleep with the floor in the future." Han Dang chuckled twice, feeling a bit worried. Although the bull-head lava turtle is a soul beast that has been around for 400 years, it should have been absorbed in half an hour, shouldn't it be so long? Wife, don't worry. Fenger's face is gradually calming down now. I think she has reached the final stage and will wake up soon. Humph. Zhang Lingling snorted coquettishly, but looked at Han Feng with a worried expression, completely ignoring Han Dang. Call out. After another stick of incense, Han Feng finally woke up and took a long breath, with a strange look in his eyes. Fenger. Are you okay? Are you feeling any discomfort? Han Feng had just woken up when Zhang Lingling hugged him, her fair face full of worry. Han Feng smiled mischievously and made a bodybuilding move, then said with a smile, "Mom, don't worry, I'm really good now." What is the first soul skill? Compared to Zhang Lingling, Han Dang is more concerned about Han Feng's first soul skill. Zhang Lingling glared at him angrily, but Han Feng said as if he had been waiting for a long time, "Ah. Dad, you're asking the right question. My first soul skill is called the Palace of Destiny. As he spoke, Han Feng immediately summoned the flame shield of the heavenly sky, and a bright yellow soul ring rose. With a low cry from Han Feng, the yellow soul ring lit up, only to see Han Feng wrapped in flames all over his body. A fiery red shield lay before Han Feng, indestructible. The first soul skill, the Defense of Life. Increases soul power and defense by 60%, and can absolutely defend against first damage. Of course. It's also relative. The attacks of Soul Masters and Great Soul Masters can be absolutely defended, while Soul Sovereigns only have a 75% chance of absolute defense. Soul Sect has a 50% chance of absolute defense. When the Soul Emperor arrives, it becomes meaningless. Hee hee. Upon hearing this, Han Dang's eyes sparkled with excitement. Increasing soul power and defense by 60% is already top-notch in the first soul ring, coupled with the ability to absolutely defend against first damage, this is simply a divine skill. Well used, even the remaining blood can show off. Moreover, in Han Dang's view, his son is certain to break through the soul Douluo and even the title Douluo. According to Han Feng, when Han Feng breaks through the Soul Emperor and even the Soul Saint, isn't this first soul skill an absolute defense? And Han Feng seemed to feel that Han Dang and Zhang Lingling's surprise was not enough. He smiled mysteriously and grabbed his right hand towards his small face, pretending to ponder deeply in saying, Phantom. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Phantom, Wang Su's Flash. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Phantom, Wang Su's Flash, Phantom. Roar. In a roar-like roar, Han Feng's breath changed. In the first second, Han Feng still looked proud and mysterious, but in the next second, he was enveloped by a fierce and violent aura, like a wild beast that had escaped from its cage, devouring people. Han Dang and Zhang Lingling were immediately shocked. They could feel that Han Feng's strength had greatly increased at this time. With the blessing of the first soul ring, Han Feng's soul power attribute had unexpectedly increased by more than 80%, and there was also an increase in strength. But is the figure in front of me, shrouded in a dark red mist, really my precious son? The roar just now, although with a human voice, was clearly the roar of a bull-headed lava turtle. Han Dang and Zhang Lingling quickly summoned the martial soul, their faces full of worry and nervousness. The breath of Soul Sect and Soul Zun was completely released, and the figure in the dark red mist was clearly startled. He quickly restrained himself, and Han Feng's childish voice sounded, Dad, Mom. Don't do anything. It's me. It's me. Under the surprised gaze of Han Dang and Zhang Lingling, the dark red mist gradually dissipated, and Han Feng's small figure appeared. Only the difference was that at this moment, Han Feng was clearly different. The huge bone cow head mask was pressed against his head, a pair of sharp and twisted cow horns protruded forward, and two dark red stripes reached the chin from the eye sockets. The dense and hollow pupils carried a faint light, although different from the cow head lava turtle, the relationship was clearly not shallow. Upon hearing Han Feng's voice, Zhang Lingling ignored the terrifying mask on his head and hugged him, saying, Fenger. Han Feng nodded, and there was no expression on his bone mask. He only heard Han Feng say, It's me. Seeing Han Feng's clear mind, Zhang Lingling breathed a sigh of relief. Han Dang, who was standing beside him, seemed to see some clues and spoke seriously, Fenger, this is external soul bone. The facial external soul bone of the bull-head lava turtle can increase soul power and strength by 30%. Although there had been speculations for a long time, when Han Feng said it himself, Han Dang still shook his whole body. External soul bone attachment. For soul masters, its value is second only to the 100,000-year soul ring, and it is the second most precious treasure on the dream list of soul masters. Han Feng saw his father standing still and thought that Han Dang looked down on the slight increase. He kept saying, although there is only a 30% increase now, it is still an external soul bone that can grow with me. Now it is 30%, and in the future it will be 60%. 90%. Han Feng is telling the truth. Since he obtained this external soul bone, he knew that this increase would increase with his soul power, with a percentage point increase for every 10 levels. Now, his level 10 is 30%, his level 20 is 940%, and his level 30 is 50%. And so on. Han Feng thought he would be amazed by Han Dang's words when he said them, but he didn't expect that Han Dang not only didn't show surprise or admiration, but also looked at Han Feng with a solemn expression, sternly warning him word by word. Fenger. From now on, in the absence of absolute strength or desperate circumstances, never let anyone know about the existence of this external soul bone, do you know? Han Dang's expression was not even a hint of joking. The power of the soul sect level seemed to be lacking, and he pressed towards Han Feng, causing his pupils to shrink suddenly. Han Feng suddenly realized that he was too proud. A few days ago, I was worried that Han Dang would show off and spread the news about my second martial soul, so I concealed the existence of my second martial soul. But now it seems that I am also like this. A piece of external soul bone overwhelmed his mind, like a child who had discovered a treasure. He eagerly told Han Dang and Zhang Lingling about it, just to show off, wasn't it? If it weren't for the two people in front of me being my closest relatives, if it were for other Soul Sect and Soul Lord, I would probably have been a cold corpse. Thinking of this, the pride in Han Feng's heart immediately dissipated, leaving only shame. It's a shame that I still claim to be a reborn person, but my performance is simply a disgrace to all the predecessors who have traveled through time. Do you understand? Han Feng remained silent for a long time, and Han Dang's tone suddenly became stern. His majestic voice shook Han Feng's heart. Zhang Lingling's rare failure to protect Han Feng and prevent Han Dang, because she also knows what this external soul bone represents. Talent. Power. Opportunity. And bloody pursuit. Han Feng regained his composure and nodded quickly, I understand. This may be the first time in 6 years that Han Dang has spoken so harshly to Han Feng. Han Dang took a deep look at Han Feng again, and finally let out a long breath. His momentum slowed down. After all, the external soul bone was a precious gift from heaven. Heaven did not accept it, but instead suffered its consequences. He didn't need to force Han Feng so hard. The reason why Han Dang was so serious just now was just because he was afraid that Han Feng, the unlucky child, would carry this big bull head around and show it off to death in the future. And Han Feng also gave his father a strange glance. Previously, he thought Han Dang was someone who liked to show off, but now it seems that his understanding of him is not as deep as he imagined. At least in terms of right and wrong, Han Dang is clearly more mature than himself. It's because my own situation is too small. Just now, I heard from you that the ability of this external soul bone is obviously not just about increasing soul power and strength. Let's talk about it. What other abilities are there? Perhaps Han Feng also felt that he had been too strict just now, and asked again in a gentle tone. Han Feng chuckled and couldn't help but feel excited at the thought of another soul bone skill. He jumped out of Zhang Lingling's embrace and came to an ancient tree the size of two people hugging each other, saying, just keep an eye on it. Suddenly, Han Feng's voice became low and deep. He slowly turned his head and a hoarse, roaring voice sounded, I call this move Wang Su's Flash. Roar. 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 Boom. The roaring roar rang out again, and a heart-stopping force shot out from the pair of horns above Han Feng's head. A dark red light cut through the sky and shot towards the ancient tree. With a loud bang, a large hole the size of a human head appeared in the center of the trunk of the ancient tree out of thin air. The entrance of the cave was flat, and if it weren't for the scorched black tree heart, it would have been as if a sword had been chopped out. Seeing this scene, Han Dang and Zhang Lingling were completely shocked. This power. Even the full force of the second ring attack on the Great Soul Master is nothing more than that. The most crucial thing is that this so-called Wang Su's Flash is still an instant soul skill. As a defensive battle soul master, Han Feng is able to possess a skill like this. Even if someone uses a 10,000-year-old external soul bone to exchange it, they won't exchange it either. But when Han Dang and Zhang Lingling didn't know, facing such terrifying penetration and attack power, Han Feng was somewhat dissatisfied. TSK. I'm a bit weak. Wang Su's Flash doesn't live up to its name. Why don't we call it Su Shan first? Just as Han Feng was wandering around, Han Dang quietly swallowed his saliva and asked in a voice of envy, Fenger. What is this external soul bone called? Han Feng was stunned for a moment, but still answered firmly, the Mask of Emptiness. Upon hearing this, Han Dang felt a bit strange and didn't understand why the soul bones produced by the bullhead lava turtle had nothing to do with their names. Even their soul skills couldn't be mastered. However, since it was his son who said it, although Han Dang felt strange in his heart, he nodded and finally reminded him, the external soul bones make people envious. I know you have been clever since childhood and should not do that kind of sensationalism. Han Feng nodded somewhat guilty in response. Han Feng felt guilty, not because Han Dang said he was clever from a young age, but because he saw the strange look in Han Dang's eyes. In fact, this soul bone is not even called a virtual mask, and the soul skills it carries are not virtual flashes or Wang Su's flashes. The called virtualization is actually just a passive part of this external soul bone, and the flash of Wang Su should actually be called the lava fire thread. The reason why there have been so many demonic changes is entirely due to Han Feng's own second-level heart. If it weren't for his martial soul being a shield, not a sword, Han Feng would even want to change his first soul skill to Crescent Sky Charge. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Stan City Junior Soul Master Academy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Stan City Junior Soul Master Academy. After returning from the soul hunting forest, in just 2 months, it was obvious that Han Feng did not have enough time to break through again. After registering at the Martial Soul Hall, Han Feng lived a salty fish-like life. It is impossible to work hard, and it is impossible to work hard in this lifetime. You can only maintain your livelihood by eating 2 levels of soul power every year. However, to Han Feng's surprise, when he registered at the Martial Soul Hall, it showed that he only had level 15 soul power. You should know that in the past 6 years, Han Feng has automatically increased his soul power by 12 levels. In addition, the first soul ring is 400 years old, providing a considerable amount of soul power. 1 level is certain, and with an external soul bone, although it is only a 100-year-old soul bone, increasing the soul power of a soul master by 1 level is not excessive, is it? By this calculation, out of 1 soul power, there must be 14 levels that come from a white female ticket. But even so, I actually only have level 15 soul power now. What does this mean? This means that one's innate soul power is only half to 1 level. Twin martial souls, and both martial souls are not weak, surprisingly only have such a little innate soul power. Look at Tang San, look at BB Dong, I'm afraid I'm not a low-quality product. Fortunately, he still has golden fingers, and his soul power automatically increases by 2 levels every year. Otherwise, Han Feng might have given up on himself. And 2 months passed quickly. 2 months later, Han Feng finally fulfilled his wish and entered Stan City Junior Soul Master Academy as a self-funded student. It has been proven that Han Feng was not the fate of the protagonist. There is no lovely girl who requests to sleep together, and the treatment for self-funded students is still good. 4 people live in a dormitory, with separate men and women, and Han Feng can't even live in the dormitory. How could Zhang Lingling, who loves her son, let Han Feng live in the dormitory? As for whether it complies with school regulations, the principal of Stan City Junior Soul Master Academy is just a level 41 Soul Master, and also an auxiliary Soul Master. There are no knowledgeable masters, and most of the teachers in Stan City look average, with occasional outstanding ones and little talent. In their eyes, Han Feng's father, a soul sect like Han Dang, was already a remarkable existence, and his own cultivation was only around that of a great soul master. Such a short-sighted person, Han Feng naturally could not treat him with teacher etiquette. Of course, even if Han Feng is a defensive soul master, no one will provoke him. Jokes, let's not talk about Han Feng's father and mother for now, it's Han Feng himself. With his soul power reaching level 15, he can still be bullied by a group of children. You should know that many 6th grade graduates only have the soul power of level 12 or 13. If there are really senior students who want to bully Han Feng will also report it. He's not stupid, his martial soul is not weak, but after all, he only has 1 soul ring and doesn't have much attack ability. It's okay to fight alone. If there is a group fight on the other side, Han Feng has no choice but to expose the external soul bones, right? He's not Tang San, he doesn't know Xiantian Gong, let alone hidden weapon poison gong. At the age of only 6, how can he defeat 100 enemies? Anyway, with his father around, the school teachers dare not show favoritism towards him. Therefore, Han Feng was almost a demon king in the college, even the principal dared to give him a slap in the face. Of course, Han Feng is not really just idle and idle. Undoubtedly, after learning that his soul power could automatically increase every year, Han Feng's enthusiasm for cultivation was greatly reduced. After all, lying down could improve, and his hard work in cultivation may not necessarily lead to a faster rate of automatic improvement. Han Feng also has no great ambitions. People are afraid of fame and pigs are afraid of strength. He doesn't want to do such shocking things as being a 6-year-old soul master or a 7-year-old soul master, let alone he can't. Anyway, now that I am at level 15, in 6 years, even if I don't cultivate myself, I can still reach level 27. At that time, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing would be at similar levels and could enter Shrek. But even so, Han Feng is not really without something to do. Han Feng, after all, traveled from the 21st century, and the flower-like thoughts in his mind were far beyond the imagination of the indigenous people of Douluo continent. After only spending a day of meditation, which was actually just blindly pondering on his own, Han Feng found his own path of cultivation. Firstly, we must never waste our golden fingers. Automatically increase soul power by 2 levels every year. Although I am unwilling to actively increase the amount of soul power, I can find ways to improve the quality of soul power. This is the result of Han Feng's hard thinking. Han Feng felt that it would be too wasteful to simply increase his soul power. We cannot make it increase by 3 or 4 levels every year, but we can compress our own soul power, making each level's soul power more solid. If one soul power can be equivalent to 2 or 3 levels of soul power in the same level, does it mean that one has increased by 5 or 6 levels every year? A normal soul master would never come up with such a solution. Any soul master with a normal mind, who is not putting in effort to improve their soul power by 1 level, who would struggle to please themselves and make it even harder to level up. Only Han Feng is different. This kid's soul power was not cultivated by himself. Of course, the main reason is that compressing soul power is much simpler than increasing soul power. One is to create something out of nothing, and the other is to make a qualitative change due to quantitative changes. It is obvious how Han Feng would choose. Secondly, it is to enrich one's means. After being ordered by Han Dangle not to use the external soul bone in front of people, Han Feng clearly felt the lack of his skills. Apart from the first soul skill of the flame shield, he couldn't even bring out a decent skill. This is obviously not possible. Look at Tang San, how much time he spent playing when he was 6 years old. Martial soul and martial arts fly together, with soul skills and hidden weapons of the same color. With less than 30 levels of soul power cultivation, he relies on endless and mysterious methods to make Zhao Wuji, who is at 70.6 levels, look disheartened. As a sophomore, how could Han Feng not have any longing? For Han Feng, the easiest way to increase his skills is naturally to create his own soul skills. It's not that Han Feng is boasting about himself. He doesn't need to work hard to improve his soul power cultivation like other soul masters. He has a lot of time to study, and coupled with his previous life's imagination, creating his own soul skills is definitely not a fantasy. As for whether he will be arrested for research, Han Feng said he is not worried. He is 30.2 years old and can create powerful soul skills such as Ghost Shadow and Mist, Crane Control and Dragon Capture, and Hidden Weapon Baijia. At the age of 12, it is not a problem for him to create a few ordinary soul skills himself. For this reason, Han Feng almost pesters Han Dang almost every day when he comes home, learning various skills for using shields, hoping to gain something from them. Han Feng and Han Dang have studied for half a year, and they have learned a lot of skills. However, they have no idea about their self-created soul skills. On the contrary, it is because they pester Han Dang every day and neglect Zhang Lingling, which makes Zhang Lingling very unhappy. They punish Han Dang a lot at night. This made Han Dang very unhappy. When Han Feng and Zhang Lingling were kissing, he ate Han Feng's jealousy himself. Now that Han Feng has kissed her, Zhang Lingling is jealous of her. What kind of thing is this? This also made Han Dang secretly decide that one day, he would send this unlucky child far away, as if he couldn't come back once or twice for half a year. At the same time, Han Dang cleverly sent Han Fengji to accompany Zhang Lingling and said to Han Feng with righteousness, "Your blazing sky shield not only has a shield, but also has the ability of flames. It can be learned by your mother and develop the power of flames in your martial soul." Han Feng had no choice, but what he didn't expect was that when he was really learning fire control with Zhang Lingling, he seized the opportunity to create his own soul skills. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Self-Created Soul Skill, Level 20. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Self-Created Soul Skill, Level 20. Han, do you really want me to attack you with all my might? Yeah. Han, although De Gui's first soul ring is only a 10-year soul ring, it is still a powerful attack soul master. You don't need the first soul ring, is it really okay? Outside the classroom of Class 2, Grade 3 at Stan City Junior Soul Master College, two young boys spoke to another handsome and fair boy with a conflicted expression, but his face was filled with impatience and anger. Faced with the repeated advice of the two young men, the handsome young man angrily cursed, one left and the other right, each giving the two young men a brain ache. He cursed angrily, "Can't you stop grinding your teeth? If you just take action, how could there be so much trouble? No wonder Arya and Tigress next door don't like you too." The handsome boy's words made the two boys blush, and when they heard the names of Tigress and Arya, they were even more hesitant and couldn't hold back a word. The handsome young man sneered at the situation and spoke insincerely. "Either. De Gui, you're attacking me with all your might now, or I'll go tell Arya, your little one followed her yesterday." Ah! Upon hearing these words, De Gui suddenly became angry and ashamed. A grey earth dog stepped on a white soul ring and rushed out of De Gui's body. When the white soul ring lit up, the martial soul possessed it and attacked the handsome young man. The other boy was suddenly startled, but had no time to stop De Gui. His heart was filled with sadness. He seemed to have seen himself and De Gui lying on the ground a few minutes later. The handsome young man smiled contentedly and said, "Is that right? It was you who wanted to hit me, not me who hit you. You kept teasing a woman." As he spoke, the handsome young man grinned and pulled out a shield wrapped in crimson flames with his right hand. He didn't see him using a soul ring, so he simply placed the shield horizontally in front of him without any further movements. Under the embarrassment and annoyance of De Gui, his subordinates didn't have any importance and just wanted to quickly make the handsome young man shut his mouth. First soul skill. Evil dog pounces on food. Touch. Ah! It hurts so much. It's so hot. De Gui instantly transformed into a grey-white figure and rushed towards the handsome young man, directly colliding with the fire shield. The dull sound of impact accompanied by a painful scream came out, only to see the attack of De Gui as if it had angered the flames on the fire shield. Those flames rushed towards De Gui like crazy, with a scorching heat wave. Upon seeing this scene, the handsome young man frowned slightly and quickly withdrew the flame. His martial soul also withdrew and came to De Gui's side. His left hand quietly brushed over De Gui's burned area, causing a faint, imperceptible ice blue flash. De Gui quickly quieted down. De Gui, who realized that he had contradicted the leader of the college, was shocked and pale. He didn't even have time to think about why he suddenly didn't feel hot, so he quickly apologized, but was stopped by a handsome young man. "It's okay. You go. Don't worry, I won't tell Arya about that. My mouth is very tight. A year ago, I saw an elder student being dragged away in the morning. I didn't say anything. When everyone found him after school in the evening, even his mother wouldn't recognize him. Upon hearing the words of the handsome young man, De Gouet only knew that he would not argue with him. He was immediately overjoyed, regardless of what he said later. He quickly thanked him and pulled another young man out, afraid that the handsome young man would turn back. The handsome young man looked at the figure of De Gouet and the two of them leaving, and said in a faint silence, "After eating the loss, I would like to thank humanity. This child is truly sincere." But soon, he sighed again and muttered to himself with some regret, "Hey. Rion still can't master it well. His soul power is too dissipated, and it's okay to deal with soul masters of the same level. If you deal with soul masters even one level higher than yourself, you won't achieve the expected effect at all." This handsome young man is Han Feng. It has been 2.5 years since he obtained the first soul ring. During these 2 years, he has continuously condensed his soul power and improved its quality. It is not an exaggeration to say that at this time, Han Feng's soul power quality is no less than that of an ordinary soul master. The benefit of improving the quality of soul power is that it makes the flames of the flame shield even hotter and more solid, and the martial soul itself becomes stronger. Of course, while compressing his soul power, Han Feng also spared no effort in researching his self-created soul skills. Not to mention, under the inspiration of his own mother, Han Feng really developed something. In 2.5 years, Han Feng created a total of 2 soul skills, both of which were auxiliary soul skills. The first one is called the Hidden Shield, which is a soul skill that achieves the effect of concealment by covering the entire body with the Flame Sky Shield and then reducing the aura of the Flame Sky Shield. Although it cannot achieve invisibility, it also causes the opponent to lose the trace of their soul power. The difficulty of cultivation is not high, but its practicality is not low. And the second soul skill is called Rian, which is a brain hole created by Han Feng after seeing Zhang Lingling's third soul ring. The counterattack fire ring. Zhang Lingling's third soul ring can give others a fire ring, and any attempt to attack the soul master inside the fire ring will be countered by the fire ring. At that time, Han Feng was thinking, since his martial soul also had fire, why not use it as a supplement to his few attack methods? Although limited by one's own martial soul, one's flames cannot truly take the initiative to attack. Passive counterattacks are always possible, right? Just like those tanks in previous games, when they use attack gear, they may not deal much damage, but if they use anti-armor, they can work wonders. In Han Feng's imagination, Ri Yan was like anti-damage armor, with no explosive appearance or exaggerated damage, but as long as you touch my martial soul, you must be burned by flames, unavoidable. Since seeing the counterattack fire ring, Han Feng has been wanting to equip his martial soul with anti-damage armor. However, the soul skill of Rian is much more difficult than Hidden Shield. It took Han Feng more than half a year to have the prototype, and it took him more than a year to improve it, but he still couldn't satisfy Han Feng. The road ahead is long and arduous. Han Feng let out a deep sigh and walked towards his way home. Today, Han Dang and Zhang Lingling are taking him to the Starry Forest to hunt for the second soul ring. Han Feng had already surpassed level 20 a month ago, and apart from the automatic level 4 upgrade between 2.5 years, he has only practiced level 1 himself in these 2.5 years. Another part of it is the natural growth of soul power. Even if it's because Han Feng's soul power is of high quality, the speed is a bit slow. If it weren't for his golden fingers, Han Feng would be no different from a salted fish. As for why we need to go to the Star Forest instead of the soul-hunting forest outside Stan City, it is because Han Feng's mother Zhang Lingling broke through level 40 a few weeks ago and needs to hunt a soul beast with a cultivation of 6,000 years as the 4th soul ring. The soul-hunting forest outside Stan City clearly cannot meet their needs. So Han Dang's main purpose is to have his wife's 4th soul ring, Han Feng's 2nd soul ring. Take it all as a side trip. Han Feng heard that in order to obtain Zhang Lingling's 4th soul ring, Han Dang specially brought in a strong attack type Soul King and a control type Soul King. In addition, Han Dang's own defense-type soul sect and Zhang Lingling's auxiliary-type quasi-soul sect, a soul beast that has only been around for 6,000 years, have they not been captured yet? In order to please these two soul kings, Han Dang's small treasury is almost empty. In fact, Han Feng knew that he thought for a long time that if he wanted a good soul ring, he would probably have to seek help from others. This is a common problem among defensive soul masters, and he has no choice but to. Han Feng also knew that even if Zhang Lingling did not break through the soul sect this time, she would probably have to ask for help when she broke through the soul sect. A soul beast with 1,000 years of cultivation is already equivalent to a soul master. Some powerful soul beasts have individual combat abilities comparable to high-level strong attack soul masters. With the strength of Han Dang, a defensive soul master, it is difficult to defeat them without killing them. Outsiders are ultimately outsiders. I hope there won't be any accidents during this trip to the Star Forest. Han Feng murmured. The two soul kings invited by Han Dang are both people with guaranteed reputation. As long as there are no accidents, there will be basically no ill intentions. And this accident may be external, such as encountering a powerful eternal soul beast or something. It could also be internal, such as the hunted soul beast breaking through and bursting out a soul bone or something. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Starry Forest, 50-100-Year Red Flame Lord. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Starry Forest, 50-100-Year Red Flame Lord. The Star Do Forest is one of the three most famous soul beast settlements in the Douluo continent, with an area almost equal to the land area of the Barak Kingdom, spanning the borders of the Tiandu Empire and the Star Douluo Empire. It is a primitive forest with complex terrain and powerful soul beasts, claiming that all soul masters can obtain suitable soul rings from it. Of course, the Star Forest is also very dangerous, even the title Douluo. If you dare to trespass through the core area, your life is also in danger. You should know that in the Starry Forest, there are not only two giants. The Azure Bull Python and the Titan Ape. Emperor Tian and the others are still asleep. As a reborn person, Han Feng knows that if he really provokes the Silver Dragon King in the core area of the Star Do Forest, even if a true deity comes, he may not be able to fully retreat. In short, never go to the Star Forest to die. However, Han Feng and his team only aim for a 5,000-year-old soul beast and a 700-year-old soul beast. Naturally, there is no need to intrude into the core area of the Star Do Forest. It is sufficient in the mixed area. If they are lucky, they can hunt suitable soul beasts outside the forest. The two soul kings that Han Dang brought in were both silent masters, and after a brief self-introduction, they never spoke again. That powerful attack-type soul king, named Chen Sheng, has a martial soul heavenly spear and a soul power of 54 levels. That controlling soul king, named Wu Fan, has a martial soul shock hammer with a soul power of 52 levels. According to their intentions, it is now to hunt a century-old soul beast for Han Feng as the second soul ring on the periphery, and then slowly penetrate the mixed zone to hunt the fourth soul ring for Zhang Lingling. After all, this is the safest and least risky way to do so. But Han Dang's intention was to go to the mixed zone first, hunt the fourth soul ring for Zhang Lingling, and also hunt the second soul ring for Han Feng. In this way, although the danger factor has increased, it can give Han Feng a more powerful second soul ring. After all, the century-old soul beasts that can live in the mixed zone are definitely not comparable to those that live on the periphery. At first, Chen Sheng and Wu Fan disagreed, but in the end, it was Han Dang duo who offered a 20% compensation before agreeing. As a great soul master, Han Feng obediently hid under the protection of his parents. Although he was worried about Chen Sheng and Wu Fan, he didn't need him to be wary of them. As an old martial artist, Han Dang was more aware of the danger in people's hearts. Fenger, you must remember to always pay attention to the surrounding environment in the wilderness, and not take any wind or grass lightly. The abilities of soul beasts are diverse, and no one knows what will happen in the next moment. As a soul master, when you come to the wilderness, you absolutely cannot place yourself in a place with a wide field of vision. It is best to search for tree caves, karst caves, and other places to spend the night. Try not to start a fire as much as possible. Although most soul beasts instinctively fear flames, there are also some soul beasts who are naturally not afraid of flames, rashly start a fire, and may attract their attacks. Ensure that your soul power is not less than 2/3 of the perfect state. Once it falls below this value, even if the speed is slow, stop and restore your soul power to avoid encountering powerful soul beasts and losing your soul power. Along the way, Han Dang continuously imparted various knowledge to Han Feng, some even repeating it 2 or 3 times. Unlike the soul-hunting forest outside Stan City, where the strongest soul beast only had a cultivation of over 1,000 years. With Han Dang's cultivation and Zhang Lingling's assistance, he could walk horizontally without the need for such caution. But the stars are not a place where any soul master can act wild. Han Feng didn't have any impatience either. After all, these are all the insightful insights accumulated by the predecessors little by little. Sometimes, these seemingly cowardly pieces of knowledge can really save lives. Mr. Han, there is a red flame lord with a cultivation of 5,000 years ahead. It has been 2 days since Han Feng and his team arrived at the Starry Forest. On the first day, there was a black armored turtle that was suitable for Han Feng, but he disliked it for not having flame properties and its lifespan was a bit low. The next morning, Wu Fan calmly said to Han Dang. Upon hearing this, Han Dang's eyes lit up. A lifespan of 5,000 years is perfect for Zhang Lingling's 4th soul ring. Although there is still some distance to reach the highest age, the pursuit of the ultimate is full of difficulties. Whether it is Zhang Lingling or Han Dang, they have no intention of challenging high difficulty. 5,000 years is just right. Han Dang and Zhang Lingling exchanged a glance, both seeing the surprise in each other's eyes. The attributes of Lord Red Flame are just right for Zhang Lingling. That's it. Han Dang made a decisive decision, and Chen Xing nodded upon hearing the words. He rushed in one direction first, followed by Zhang Lingling and Han Feng, and Wu Fan stood behind. Soon, Han Feng saw the Sodot called Red Flame Lord. The red flame body, with a scorching heat wave rushing towards him. There was no substance, only a layer of magma armor covering his shoulders, without legs, floating in mid-air like a ghost. Under the feet of the Red Flame Lord was a scorched darkness, with no less than 1,000 red flame ghosts living within 100 meters of his body. Obviously, this was a tribe. The Red Flame Lord's tribe lives in a volcanic crater, and the uncooled, rolling magma is their natural barrier. Seeing this scene, Chen Xing frowned and said, "It's a bit troublesome." Wu Fan's ability can only find soul beasts with a cultivation level of over 1,000 years, but he cannot observe these small soul beasts. If it were just a Red Flame Lord, with 2 soul kings and 2 soul schools present, it would be easy to knock them over, but with these many small soul beasts and magma barriers, it would be tricky. It's not that we can't beat it, but rather that it's troublesome. Moreover, as the number of small soul beasts increases, it's inevitable to consume soul power. In the Star Forest, consuming too much soul power is a big taboo. Han Dang's face also darkened, but he never gave up on the Red Flame Lord. He said in a deep voice, "I am a defensive soul master. I will charge forward, and you, my wife, will hide behind me. The 2 of you will be on the left and right behind me. Catch the thief first, capture the king, and we will directly hunt down their lord." Wu Fan and Chen Xing glanced at Han Dang and nodded without any objection. Anyway, with their strength, they could not do anything and could completely retreat. Seeing that Wu Fan and Chen Xing had no objections, Han Dang looked at Han Feng again. The Xuanjia shield was summoned, and the 3rd purple soul ring lit up. A pitch-black ancient shield appeared in Han Dang's hand. Han Dang handed it to Han Feng and said, "Let's help your mother hunt for the soul ring. Use the hidden shield to conceal your breath, stay in place and don't run around. This shield can withstand a single attack from a soul beast that has been around for thousands of years. We will come back soon. Han Feng had no choice but to stay in place. After all, as a small drag on his own, it was much safer to follow Han Dang and others into the Red Flame tribe. Zhang Lingling touched Han Feng's head with some guilt and said softly, "I'm sorry, Fenger." Obviously, Zhang Lingling felt that leaving Han Feng alone would make him feel uneasy, but she also understood the pros and cons and dared not take Han Feng with her. Han Feng smiled nonchalantly and comforted Zhang Lingling, "It's okay. Mom, you don't know how clever your son is." Upon hearing these words, Zhang Lingling's guilt on her face indeed faded a lot. After all, Han Feng was intelligent from a young age and indeed did not need to worry about herself. In comparison, her own side was more dangerous. However, this does not mean that Zhang Lingling will ignore Han Feng. The red flame martial soul appears, and the third soul ring also lights up. Han Feng is wrapped in a fire ring around his body, so that Zhang Lingling can rest assured. With the protection of Black Shield and counterattack fire ring, even if a soul beast with a history of 5 or 6,000 years suddenly appears to attack and kill Han Feng, it can give Han Dang and others enough time to defend back. Chen Sheng and Wu Fan were somewhat dissatisfied with the situation. After all, it was almost a waste of 2 soul skills, but after all, they were the only son of the family, and it was difficult for them to say anything. "Excuse me." After completing all of this, Han Dang's martial soul possessed him, enveloped in pitch-black armor. He held a large shield that landed on the ground, his breath calm, and his first and second soul skills were activated. Han Dang's defense power reached an incredible level. Zhang Lingling stood behind Han Dang, the second soul ring lit up, and a cluster of flames enveloped Han Dang. Han Dang trembled all over, let out a low shout, and rushed out. Wu Fan and Chen Sheng's faces changed. The fighting power of this couple's collaboration was not lower than any of them, even surpassing them. However, there was no conflict between them at this moment, and Wu Fan and Chen Sheng didn't think much about it. They rushed out closely after Han Dang, especially Wu Fan. As a control soul master with insufficient attack power, if you don't want to capsize in the sewer, it's best to follow the front row of the tank. Boom! In an instant, Han Dang, dressed in fiery martial black armor, took the lead. In the blink of an eye, he rushed out several tens of meters. When the Red Flame clan reacted, Wu Fan and Chen Sheng directly took action, and huge hammers and long spears appeared. With each hammer strike, dozens of Red Flame ghosts could be knocked unconscious, and with each long spear strike, dozens of Red Flame ghosts could be strangled. The biggest difference between Soul Masters and Soul Beasts is that Soul Masters will cooperate. 3 or 5 soul sects working together can even hunt powerful eternal soul beasts. Seeing the unstoppable Han Dang and his 4 companions hiding in the distance, Han Feng felt a sigh of emotion. Douluo continent is indeed a magical place, and this powerful force is truly admirable. End of this chapter.